This is a mock therapy session for a class. This is not real. Hello, Mr. Robert. How are you this evening?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Would you like me to call you Mr. Robert or Robert?
Yes. Call Mr. Robert. That'd be
Okay.
fine. Yes.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Robert. What brings you by?
Oh, well, I've been going through some things. I had a lot on my mind. Definitely dealing with my parents. They have a tough patch right now, and I feel as though that I kind of feel the blame. I kind of feel like it's that I didn't do enough as a child, or I just for some reason I just feel that I could do more to help the situation, but it might be like it's just out of your hands. So it's just something that's been on my mind. It's kind of affecting my thought process and just how to deal with things and approach things.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like you're dealing with a little stress based on something your parents are going through and a lot of self blame right now based on uh, what they're going through. You're internalizing it.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay. Well, today I'm gonna use one of my therapeutic techniques called existential therapy, and we'll look at some of the things that you value, where your values are, and we're with this type of therapy, we're really big on assuming freedom and responsibility of self. Okay. And so we'll focus a little bit on that. But before I go into any further deeper details about existential therapy, tell me about some of your values, your core values.
My core values is I'm very have high morals. I have a strong work ethic. My core values is treat people how you want to be treated. Definitely are not to be judgmental because you never know what a person has been through. I was pretty much raised that way. Definitely to you always look at situations from both sides and not to be one sided. Well, sometimes it's hard to do, but when you look at stuff from both sides, you kind of see a clear picture of what could be the problem. Even though you're not a problem solver, but you can kind of get an idea of what the issue may be just based off your own opinion.
Okay. So being non judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
looking at things from every side, uh, you value, you said you have great work ethic, you value work ethic and morals. You have
Right,
high
that's right, that's
morals.
right.
Okay, tell me more about the morals side. What does that look like?
The moral side is definitely just having high character. Just knowing that you lead by example and knowing that people follow you in so many ways that you may not know. Like they follow you as far as admiring how you carry yourself, or admire how you respond to things, or just admire your personality, or just your leadership. It could be anything. But as far as that's what I look at as far as morals and just knowing that when I step out the house, not to present myself, you know, one way because someone is admiring you, whether it's your kids or family or just a stranger that you may run into every day.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate you explaining that to me and giving me a little bit more insight on what you mean by high morals. And then um, it sounds like you put a lot of pressure on yourself to maintain a certain, like you say, character or moral standard. And it's basically based on the how others may view you.
That's right. That's correct. That's right. That's absolutely
Okay, okay. So with you having these standards, and these standards are based on what you think other people are thinking about you, how do you continue to maintain that level of that standard of trying to uphold what other people think of you?
right. How do I maintain it? You say?
Well, it's kind of hard to read someone else's mind.
True. True. True.
Yeah. So how do you maintain that standard of thinking about what is it that they would want me to be? How do you maintain that? Does that make sense? How do you keep that moral character, which is based on what someone else thinks your moral character should be?
Well, I think it's my inner thoughts. I think to me, I just feel as though someone is just watching. So from that aspect, it's like instinctively, I just think someone is watching me all the time. So if someone's watching me all the time, then it's like I'm on alert to maintain that high character because you never know who's watching you. And so I think from that's how I maintain just a high character, just knowing that I also have children, and I want my kids to have the same mindset, treat people how you want to be treated. Definitely not judge people. Want to let them know that we come from all different walks of life, and just knowing that just because you come from one side of the track, don't make you better than a person that come from a different side of the track. And that's one thing I really want to instill in my kids. And sometimes you can't instill in the words, you have to also lead by example. So I think that's pretty much how I maintain a high character.
Okay. So you have a set of rules that you live by.
That's right. That's
You
right.
have a set of rules that you live by, and you're assuming that other people judge you by the rules that you set for yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So you find yourself judging people in that manner as well.
I guess you could say that. Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So based on the things that you value and um, who you say you are, right?
Hmm.
Who do you say that you are?
Well, I say that I'm a person that has faith in God. Definitely a person that's a loving father, a loving husband. Head of a household. It's something that as I get so old fashioned when I take my vows pretty seriously because it's just my relationship with God. And just by taking it seriously, I've seen over my life what God has done in my life. So it's just that's a testimony to me. So from that aspect, I see a person that I'm a genuine person, that a person that has a lot of good qualities, and definitely someone that believes in myself. And even though sometimes even though I believe in myself, I can sometimes doubt myself, and that's one of my P's that I just by doubting myself, I put a fear that's not even there, but I make it be there. So I think that probably be like kind of sum up who I am.
Okay. 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 So when I asked you about values, your values were more related to uh, you living up to a certain character, in your morals, which were based on what other people think of you, holding up a certain image. And then when I asked you about who do you say you are, then you talked about being God fearing and loving your family and I believe doing what's right. And
That's correct.
you said some great things about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
about how you have good character. You have what did you say? It was you have a great skills, or was it something related to skills, a good character, or
Personality.
you have
Yeah.
good personality? So you actually praised yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do look at when in this arena, in this therapeutic arena, especially when it comes to existential therapy, we do look at how do we become our authentic selves.
Mm.
Okay,
Right.
who are our authentic selves? And aside from what other people think, or aside from what we think other people are thinking, who are we? And so I believe you answered that question just a few seconds ago, but um, can you divulge in that a little bit more, that authentic side of you, of who you are?
When you say divulge,
Well, just explain a little bit more about who that authentic uh, Mr. Robert is.
authentic Mr. Robert.
Aside from you wanting to, when others aren't looking at you, and when you're not concerned about others looking at you and what they think, who is that authentic Mr. Robert?
That person is a person that is a dreamer. I always always look at how I can take it to the next level. Always look at how I can put the idea to action. You know, and I definitely I go and I pray. Behind closed doors, and I pray for the grace and mercy He had in my life. Pray for my family, my wife. Definitely, I tend to just kind of just be, kind of look at myself. Always look at long term when I'm going. And sometimes I base my decisions that can benefit us as a family 10 years from now. 10 to 15 years. Long term thinking. Sometimes I can be in the now if it's a window that you can kind of take advantage. But sometimes that's the way my thinking is. I've calmed down a lot because I used to be this short term window, boom. But as you have a family, you have kids, and you get older, and you get wiser, you have to think long term. You have to think of situations that you can do long term without even you know costing or being a burden on your family, or that can put your family in a bind. So I think on the authentic side, that's pretty much how I am. Just at home. I love sports. Sports is a relaxation for me. Just sometimes I read a book when I can get a chance. If it's a book that interests me, I read it. Love movies. Watch any kind of movies, whether it's action, drama, thriller. The movie's relaxation for me. It's a relaxation time. It's like a good 2 hours just away from everything. You just watch a movie. You see other people acting out issues. And, it's just entertainment. And so but that's pretty much it. I like to do things. If I can. Like to do things outside, or barbecue, or just doing gatherings and stuff like that. So I think that's the authentic side of me.
Okay. So when I asked you to talk about yourself and the authentic you, you said you're a man of God, man of faith. That
Mm-hmm.
was one. You said you're a dreamer. Two.
Mm-hmm.
You're a planner. You plan for the future. You said you used to do things,
Yes,
but now
yes,
you take your time and plan. You make decisions that are appropriate for your family, and you enjoy entertainment, sports, and movies.
yes, yes. I do.
So, with that being, that's your authentic you.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you describe as your authentic you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, tell me how that authentic you um, plays into what's going on with your family right now.
That's a good question. That authentic me is I'm a man of God. And so by being a man of God, I have a relationship, but I know it could be better. And I know growing up in my household, my family's household, we had a relationship with God as well. So it's things that I'm seeing that's not godly. So that's one thing that I see, that what they preach to us, they're doing the opposite. So it's like that's one thing. It's just like, so it's hard to wrap around because you base your beliefs, your your marriage on what you was taught, and you're not seeing that transpire in their household, even though we're not there anymore. I also see as far as this some issues that as a child you've seen growing up, and when you see stuff I guess come to the forefront, you kind of feel bad because you wonder if it's something you could have done more, or you could have said more, or if you would have said more or done more, you might feel as though it wouldn't even got to that situation because it was just sort of like nipped in the bud, or could have been it could have been like almost like it could have been handled. You're not in a position to, but just making it, voicing your concern, you almost think like as though that it can be, it could have been handled a lot sooner. Like if you could have let, more family members in your family let them know what's going on. Some people back in the day that had tremendous influence that could have intervened with some things. So I think from that, that's probably ways that from my side, that it reflects in my family, that my parents pretty much.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to. We don't have much time left, but I want to touch upon one or two things before we go. Now, you did say your authentic self is that you're a man of God.
Mm-hmm.
You said that, and that you have morals, of course. Um, and you made it a point to say that you make decisions based on what on God leading you, right? Is that what you said earlier?
Right, right.
Okay. So based on what you said, how are you upholding that when it comes to the situation with your parents?
Prayer. I've been praying. I was talking to my sister, my younger sister, and we was just she mentioned something about pray. You pray for it to work out, but sometimes the prayer might be for someone to change in the situation, but the person that you want to change is not the person that the prayer is for. It's for a prayer for another person to change, and sometimes it was a didn't really like listen to it until I actually was able to sit down and let it reflect. And sometimes the change is the you have to create the change, and sometimes creating the change is you being that person to have your actions lead in your mouth, and sometimes your actions speaks volumes. You can make a lot of change when you have your actions are involved. So I think that was it was something that I listened to,
Mm-hmm.
and it was something that was powerful. And it's like didn't really let it dwell until I actually was able to just sit away and just really dwell on it. Like that was a good point my sister made. That was a real good point that she made. If we're so busy praying for someone that he's going to have to change on his own, and really we should be praying for strength for another person to create the change, the situation. You know. So I think that was powerful.
Okay. 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 And so, even in this situation, um, you would you say that you're allowing God to lead you in this situation, or you're trying to fix it yourself? Because I mean, I know the answer to it based on what we've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
but we do need to bring a level of awareness of
Right.
what you're thinking, because you value God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You value God, your relationship with God, and God directing you.
Right.
However, on the other hand, you're saying maybe it's something that I did
That's right.
or didn't do when I was younger that could have prevented what's going on now.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. So that's a good point. I'm actually thinking that can I fix the situation? Being that I'm the oldest, my mom's firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot. You know,
Okay. So we'll stop. But I just wanted to point that out that you said that you believe in God and God leads you. Um, but at the same time, do you think God is leading your parents, or are you supposed to be leading your parents? So you don't have to answer that. We'll get back with that next week.
Okay.
And so we'll see you next week, same time.
Same time.
All right, Mr.
Thank
Robert.
You so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.